Hi, I'm Brent Johnson, and today I'm at St. Martin Church in Starkenburg, Missouri. With me is Father Jeremy Secrist. You are the pastor of St. Peter Church in Jefferson City.
Yep.
But you also have a really fantastic title, and I'm going to have you say it so I don't mess it up. Tell me what your title is.
Okay. The bishop has asked me to be his delegate for the care and preservation of pipe organs in the Diocese of Jefferson City.
So that's an amazing title to have to somebody whose job it is to make sure the pipe organs are playing and continue to be preserved in the diocese. I don't know how many dioceses have something like that, so you're the first one I've heard of. So it's great to have you here. And we are here in front of an organ. Tell me what we know about this instrument.
Okay. This particular instrument in St. Martin Church is thought to be one of the earliest Pfeffers that we know of on this side of the Mississippi. And this particular parish was established in the 1870s, but there were Germans settling in this area as early as the 1850s. This organ is not original to the church, but it was transplanted from somewhere else. Its origins, we don't really know.
Wow, well, you can tell that it's a very old instrument. It's a nice little small one manual organ, so we're going to give it a look around and see what we can find out and see if it'll tell us anything about where it came from. So sitting here at the console, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ranks of pipes in this box. Well, first of all, tell me how you came to know this instrument.
Well, I actually grew up not so many miles north of here, and when I was a little kid, I had, knew of this organ, but really didn't think anything of it until the first time that I came across a recording that was made following the 1979 the Organ Historical Society convention in St. Louis. And this instrument was on it.
Oh, wow.
And so that started piquing my interest in it. And then in 2005, the local community here decided to have it rebuilt, and I was privileged to be able to be the one who presided over its rededication and the concert by Neil Coburn in 2006.
Who did the rebuild work?
This was done by Alan Nagel and the St. Louis Pipe Organ Company.
All right. Well, we're going to just give it a listen and see what we've got. The first thing we have here on the manual is an 8-foot gedeckt. Very bright, chipper little flute there. The action's very, it's not heavy, it's stiff a little bit, but very sharp, and I like it a lot.
And that's one variation on this instrument that is different from other Pfeffers, is that this instrument actually has a suspended action,
All right.
which hopefully we'll be able to look into.
Take a look at that, okay. And then going up from there, we then have, right next to it is a solutional at 8 foot. Very gentle. I'm going to combine it with the gedeckt and see, because the gedeckt was, I think, almost too big to really blend with that. Yeah, just a little bit, that's with it. It brightens up the flute just a tiny bit. We mentioned earlier, the solutional and the gedeckt do share 8-foot bass, so that's, which makes sense. That happens a lot with them. And then we have an 8-foot principal, which is right here in front. I can see it through the shade. Big bold sound right here, kind of speaking right at us. And then on top of that, we do have a 4-foot octave. There's a 2-foot principal, but something tells me that's probably not, no, because that would have been odd for the time, and the face is a little bit different, but well, let me just listen to it by itself. Thank you. Sounds like the kind of style of principal, but again, I don't think that would be original, but here's 8, 4, and 2 together. piercing sound in here. This fills the room really well. So just those 3 ranks. So, all right, and then there is 1 pedal sub bass. We have a pedal compass of just an octave and a half, 20 notes. Let's start at the top here. It's quite a bit of bass there. So if we say we're to couple the gedeckt down. Yeah, quite a bit of sound there. So just 7 ranks, but it does enough to fill this room certainly, and it's not a tiny space. It's a small church, but it's still got a lot of space to fill, and this does a lot. So, well, Chris Soer is here, and we're going to take a look inside and see what we can find out about this instrument and see if it'll tell us something about itself. Before we start digging into this organ, I want to remind you that we have visited 2 other Pfeffer instruments. One of them was at the Church of St. Thomas in St. Thomas, Missouri. Father Jeremy helped us there as well. If you haven't seen that video, there's a link to it up here. That organ was nicknamed Phyllis Pfeffer, so if you hear references to Phyllis, that's what they're talking about. Also, of course, we've made several videos at the Shrine of St. Joseph in St. Louis, Missouri, and there's a large Pfeffer there that they reference as well. And there's, of course, a link to first the video tour of that organ, and then Chris re-leathered the regulator, and we had a large series about that. If you'd like to see a little bit about digging into a 19th century Pfeffer regulator, there's a large video series on that. So there's a link to that. They're down in the description as well. But for now, let's dig into this instrument and see what we can find.
So we know it's Phyllis's 18 what?
Well, at least when it was installed, 1897. I tend to think with that kit, it's older, but that's what's on the plate.
It's possible that it's older, but 1898 you said?
1897.
97. Okay. Well, this is obviously older than that by far.
Yeah. And 20 note fills is 25.
And like St. Joseph Shrine, that Pfeffer has the same console design profile that the one at St. Thomas has, and that's in that block of time. And that one, I'm inclined to believe, was a rebuild of that instrument. So the console would have been redone. They would have had to have. It was most likely a small 2 manual, and they made it a bigger 2 manual. But in this case, this is not a lot of similarities to the one at St. Thomas in the console. Well, aside from all of the fills where they had attach things, and they could have attached things here at the church, so you can't really hold that as being, oh yes, they had something different. Obviously it has a different finish on it here, this lighter finish. It's not what was originally there. And it's not just that there's a stain underneath of it or that the wood is dark and then they washed it, but because it had an actual clear finish over it, and it's now turned to speckle or a crackle or whatever they call it now. People pay a lot of money for that. This is the natural version of it. Yeah, it's hard to tell where things might have been had it been modified in the case. But this key desk just it keeps bringing me back to that it's really, really old, obviously, but that it's older than 1891, which is what the building cornerstone says. The script is quite lovely on here, and that old ivory in there looks like an organ that is potentially Pfeffer, but could also be Metz, who was here before Pfeffer, here in the St. Louis area, I should say. And at one point in time, Pfeffer worked for Metz, from what we can tell, and history books suggest that Pfeffer was the successor to the Metz's shop. So it would not be unheard of, in particular if you're the real only organ builder in the St. Louis area, and to know all of these customers, and then be asked, hey, we're going to build a new organ for this, what do we do with this smaller instrument? And then someone write in from another church and say, we'd like a small organ, but we don't have a lot of money. Then we do it today. It's not anything new.
There might be an influence of the Franciscans, because when J.G. Pfeffer died, his funeral was down at St. Anthony Church off of Merrimack.
Which is the province
Yes, the
center.
provincial
Yeah.
center. And the Franciscans, for many years, had care of this Church of St. Martin, and they had a friary across the river in Herman. So it's possible that, I don't know, maybe, this is conjecture, maybe before the Schulke was installed in St. Anthony, or there was another church that had it,
Well,
for the means by bringing it here.
Certainly could be. Of course, all of the clergy, and in particular in the Catholic Church, but all of the clergy would have known each other. They would all come from the same area, the same seminaries. They would have known each other, and they would have been writing back and forth during that era. So it's very possible that having Franciscans here saying, we really need an organ, and they say, oh, well, you know, we know this guy, and he does it, and we can work something out with him. Well, let's dig into it. Let's see what we can find further. Aside from all of the screw holes and nail holes, I want to get inside the case because this is known widely as being a different style of action than what Pfeffer normally would do for their chest action. And so I want to see it. I want to be able to actually look at what's going on in there. Nice and handy. To just has a latch and pulls away. Thank you. Might be a replacement. That's walnut. I lied. The tight green looks like. Mahogany, but it's. Well, the reservoir has been replaced. I'm pretty certain. I don't know when that was done, but.
And using some rather unconventional weights, being out here in the country.
Yeah, gears and flywheels, but hey, it weighs a lot. That's all that matters.
So at least this part looks very similar to the to other Pfeffers.
This is a standard roller board, and the pedal action looks pretty standard as well. Well, that's not historic, but you can see the roller board in the back. That's what shifts something down here. It's going to play on that low end of the chest, but the C sharp is going to be over here, so it has to do something to transfer over the action.
For some reason, the keys are the numbering is off. They're not in order.
Well, they probably had warped keys and issues with them, and they moved them to compensate for that.
49, 52. It's kind of like the call them bingo.
So they put new canvas on the bottom of the channels of the slider chest. So sometimes they would cover that. Instead of canvas, that would be blanket ticking, but sometimes they would cover it with newsprint on the inside, and it would be something that we would hope would maybe still be there and
Give you some dates.
give you dates. Yeah, exactly. And then we can do more research to find out what organs might have been built at that time period, or what churches had new instruments during that time period. We can cross-reference. So this is so tight and so compact that it really would take digging in to get inside of it. And oftentimes the builders would write on the wood that they're working on what job it was for. And what I was hopeful for is maybe in pencil on the inside of the action box would be a name of a church, and not this church, obviously. But in order to get into there, I think we would have to do some major surgery, and something like this, I really don't feel comfortable doing that. Easier, didn't it? Passage is over here on the right rear. And that's the base side over here. But yeah, these, in theory, well, that one's a lot more loose. There you go. So this is the board I want to take away. But that would require a lot of work. You see they use the passage board as the rack board for the Subas. And it's cleated into the entry into the pallet box.
So it looks like with Alan Nagel's work, that's when the tuning slides were added.
Yes, it would have been slotted to a certain point, and then they would have done cone tuning. So, since we're standing here, we can look at the pipework. The base of the 8-foot diapason, which is up front, is wood. It's a different scale than a normal gedect, and it looks like they have beards in it. It has a very quinty sound, and that would explain why, because it's a stop set. Then you go here to the gedect, which is a common base with, for the solitional. That's interesting. I need to climb up there to see that better, but the 4-foot octave, small scale, slotted. Slotted on the back side for that. Well, that's an interesting choice. Yeah, see, this pipework looks older. The organ at St. Thomas and the one at the Shrine of St. Joseph, the pipework is very uniform, very similar, although there are sprinklings of older looking pipework at St. Joseph's Shrine. The pipework, though, looks like it came from a supply house versus being made locally. This looks like it was made locally, or I should say it was made in their shop. Organ metal, common metal, heavy lead. Nicking is all very uniform from each stop. And this is labeled 2 foot 15th, so this is original.
No number stamped.
Well, they're written. This says D for the foot, and this says G for the top. So, and this one had a zinc top on it, so I wasn't able to see that from the last one. So we'll go to the next one. C, A, and E.
It's E there.
And although it does say 2 foot on it, at one point in time this was an A, or somebody made a mistake, which is certainly possible. Some apprentice got fired after that. So this is older than St. Thomas, which what year did you say that was?
1897.
1897. And then it's kind of an older look than most of the stuff at the Shrine of St. Joseph. But again, that's another one where the more I look at that pipework, the more I think that there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that in it from older instrument. I'm looking for pencil scribbles on these things. Since the organ was rebuilt, it could have been sanded and a new coat of shellac put on it. But the bearers and the casework probably didn't have anything done to it, so we might be able to find something written in there. Although at St. Thomas, there's nothing written that says St. Thomas on it, and I don't see.
Well, yes, steamboat.
Well, other than
Yeah.
the shipping label. But the shipping label would have been changed on this too. So.
In the petering work from 1979, it does speak about the shape of the board and stoppers as being some sign of Pfeffer parentage. And they're just looking at that one with the string in.
So all that tongue and groove on the back is actually rough on this side. That's kind of cool. There's some markings over here that's hard to see. That looks like lumber markings, like when you would buy something from a lumber yard. So we might be able to get some information off of that. Need a little bit more white on that side. Here's the solutional the rest of the way. It's the German lettering system. It said H on it. There's an H again. Okay. Interesting. Doesn't have anything specific for a pipe maker or a person that voiced it or that it was a company. Other Pfeffer instruments will have J.G. Pfeffer on it, written in the pipe metal. I have no idea what this means. No idea what that means.
Lieblich gedeckt. I don't know about the thing underneath. I'm guessing LG, but I don't.
Yeah, I guess it could be lieblich gedeckt. Note name it is. Rank. Kind of looks like a P for principal. But there's some other marking on it. Bracer board back here across the back of the case looks like what Pfeffer would do. The action for the pedal and on the floor, the ventil looks like it's Pfeffer. But I mean, if he rebuilt it when he moved it, so it could be Pfeffer. It could be older than Pfeffer. It could be Metz. I've seen Metz pipework before, not a lot, but I've seen Metz pipework before that uses this same kind of common metal, same kind of nicking technique. Same kind of mouths like that for the bases. But if they work together, I mean, it just is smart that, or logical thinking that they would have had similar building techniques. It's worth noting that this is originally hand pumped. You can see the place where it would have gone. The wind gauge for the bellows pumper. In fact, I think it still does its thing.
Is it still there?
No, that's the curtain bell. Now, come on, give us some more secrets, would you? Some clues. No, these look like they've been re-shellacked.
Is it now that kind of cleat though, or a hook?
See, the cap is fixated with glue or nails. It doesn't have any screws in it. It's old. That's an interesting way of hooking too.
Are all of them off-centered on the?
I would gather or speculate that they would be. Dovetail joinery for the case of the chest. Really nice. Oh, yeah. Maybe this 15th was once a harmonic flute. This face in this bag says 4-foot flute in the original script and the original face. So did they cut this down and make it into a 15 from a 4-foot flute? It's the same kind of pipe work. Yeah. That looks like that belongs. The script and everything. Want to make a comparison to the other ones?
Could be, but
And even though it says F for flute for 15th, it could be F for flute.
I don't think it's original.
No,
Who's Jerry?
Jerry Brookman worked with Alan and was taking care of the instrument up until recently. Hold on, I'll take the latch off.
That's one way to do it, Chris.
That's regulating. There's that script again. So what is this, C sharp? And that's what? It's hard to tell. Sadly, I think I now have more questions than when we started. Oh, I hate that. When they rebuilt it, they took out the feeders and replaced it with an electric blower, which is what I'm standing on right now. But and that also would have told us a lot about the age of the instrument, is the way the feeders were built. Small lock-off blower and curtain valve. This is what does the regulation. 2 3/5 pressure.
Chris and Father Jeremy, thanks so much for introducing me to this lovely little instrument, Pfeffer, we think. What did you see inside there, Chris, once we got crawling around?
Well, it's definitely an older instrument than the churches, so it was a transplant for sure. It's been rebuilt recently, so maybe some of the markings are gone, but you know, it's an older instrument, so who knows if those markings were even there. It certainly wasn't a factory type build where it would have been stamped with all the part numbers and everything. Has old script in it, has an older way of labeling pipework. There's question of whether the 15th was there originally or not, if it was another stop. Interesting across the board, and now I have more questions than
That's
I
what
have.
it sounds like. Yeah, there's still more things to
I
ask.
have no idea. It would be really interesting to see if it was a late Metz, but there's no way to prove that right now.
No, more questions than answers is what we have from this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Thank you again both for coming out, and we have a few more little organs we're going to go visit today. We're on a little road trip across Missouri, so I hope you'll join us. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel and click the little bell to get notifications as our new videos come out. If you'd like to support us and help us make more videos, you can always do that by going to organ.media and clicking on support. For now, you can get streaming classical organ music anytime on our 3 streaming stations, organlive.com, Positively Baroque, and The Organ Experience. I'm Brent Johnson. Thank you for watching.